Hey guys, Jim here. Let's get into something fun. My second Tanic from Geoff, whom we all know as Tough Thumbs, who has become a full-time knife maker and goes under the moniker Tuffknives. Now, for those of you that go way back with my channel, you might remember this one. This was the third Tanic ever built, and this was made precisely exactly the way I wanted to have it done, with the this glacier pattern done, this partial rock pattern fading off into the stippled titanium. He did this incredible rock pattern in the hardware, in the pivot, did that frostbite treatment again through the clip. And I've just been so totally happy with this knife. I love the grind. Mine was the very first one to get this this front swedge pulled back as far as it was, the top swedge done like it was, the first mirror polish that he did. I mean, it was really something truly special, and it's something that I still carry with me on pretty much a daily basis. But as with any other maker, Geoff has continued to evolve over this time. And, you know, it's been darn near a year since the very first Tanics came out. And we're seeing his actions getting smoother, his details getting finer. And I'm really blessed to have gotten the opportunity to get another. Now, I had mentioned a long time ago, somewhere around one of these videos, that Geoff and I were going to be doing one that we're calling the Epic Tanic. That's still in the future. That was always planned to be the third one. The second one was something that we were kind of toying around with the idea of doing one sort of similar to one he'd already done, where it was all satin finished with carbon fiber inlay into the handle or whatnot. But that very quickly got abandoned when I saw him post up a picture of a Wharncliffe. And ever since that day that I saw it, I said, I absolutely have to have that blade shape in a Tanic, no way around it. And he's kind of held me off and said, no, I really don't want to do it again. And, you know, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I've got to use a special blade stock for it because, as you see, the knife is bigger than the original Tanic was. And then I got a surprise call one day where he says, it's that time. We're going to do it. I'm going to have some fun. You've been waiting. I guess it's probably been 7-8 months since I've been waiting to get my second Tanic. And it's probably been 3 or 4 months since I had seen the Wharncliffe. He goes, you know, dude, you've been really patient. You never really pester me about shit like, you know, a lot of people would do. He goes, you know, I really appreciate that. I've gotten a chance to make some really kick-ass knives and get a lot out there to other people. So let's go ahead and get yours done. So we're going to just kind of get my first one out of frame here for a moment and talk about how awesome this knife is. Then we'll bring that back in and do some comparisons. And I know this is rather atypical for me, but I wanted something that was very smooth, clean, and not really a hell of a lot going on. The beauty of this knife is really in the finer details, you know, such as the concaved pivot, which I think is pretty damn badass. All the contouring that's been done on this, it's very smooth, very comfortable in the hand. The custom clip, the way he did the custom hardware here, because this is how his backspacer hardware typically is. So this is very much a different knife, especially when you get over to this blade. Oh, beautiful chunk of N690. Love how he did this. I mean, the whole thing is just incredible. And he did one hell of a job on sharpening this too. It is quite sharp. Nice prominent swedge coming down the front edge of the Wharncliffe. Beautiful satin finish throughout the entire blade. And Geoff is not a big fan of satin finishes, either for knives he personally owns made by other people, just because he likes less of a flashy look and more of a broken-in, worn-in look. So he'd rather have something like acid etched dark stone wash than have a satin. And he's also not a big fan of doing satin on his knives because, well, let's face it, it's laborious. I'm fairly certain he said he spent almost the entire day just finishing this blade to get this particular satin done. It is wonderfully comfortable in the hand. It feels a little bit lighter weight than the original Tanic. You'll notice that the tie is a lot slimmer than on the original. Let's get these really, really close here. Let it focus. And you'll see some pretty big differences just in the shaping and contouring of the titanium as well, especially right up here. You see some very, very noticeable differences. The shape of the flipper tab coming down off the blade. I mean, he has made a lot of refinements. One of my favorites is this channel right here that doesn't exist on the first few Tanics. I don't know what number he started with, but I'm going to probably guess around 7 or 8 he started doing that channel. And what that does is, and mine is not broken in, by the way, so it's going to be a little bit sticky on the lock. Or really sticky on the lock. That's the first time it's done that, by the way. All right. So what this allows you to do is your finger, when you're flipping the knife, doesn't just jam onto that titanium there. You've got a little channel for your finger just to kind of slide back through, and it's actually a little bit more comfortable that way. Oh, I love how this thing feels. The action, by the way, is a lot smoother than any of the original Tanics. Mine still doesn't really drop closed freely. It's still very snappy because he put a really hard detent in mine, but this one's faster. And definitely a lot smoother, so that is incredibly different. And you'll see right here, I just want to kind of account for that lock stick there. You'll see on the lock face here, it is not broken in at all. I've only had this about 6 hours, and I've been running around for about 5 of those 6 hours, so I really haven't had a chance to sit here and flip it over and over and over. You should see a pretty big difference between that lock face and my lock face here, which is very easy to see how broken in that is. Another big difference, while we're taking a look there, you'll see how the blade is somewhat recessed into the frames here. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's, very, very typical. But I love this. I love how now the frame is contoured around the blade to wonderfully match it. It looks more expensive that way. Definitely it's attention to detail. Eliminating the exposed hardware on this side of the frame. Very, very nice detail. The clips, a true 3-dimensional sculpted clip versus this, and this was a hand-bent clip, all custom done, so obviously I like that one as well, but there's something a little bit more special about this clip. Much smaller hardware from this side as well. Lock bar cutout is going to be relatively the same. Definitely a little bit more of a cleaner look on this one, not having the rock pattern and whatnot. I wanted something that would be simple, basic, clean, sanitary looking, easy to carry every single day. Alpha Knife Supply pivot. Very nicely done, by the way. Very cool. I like that pivot on both sides, but I really like this. Did a little bit of heat treat in there, a little heat color to give that blue. He knows I like my pops of blue. And then we get to the back spacers. You guys might remember on my Tanic number 3, this really badass, almost free-floating back spacer in that rock pattern that he did a little bit of blue into it, coming off the blue in the tie. But this one is quite a bit more special. Here we have Chad Nichols' Zircotie. So you have a combination of zirconium and titanium. What Chad Nichols is doing for that, for those that have not seen my other video about it is a composition of 3 different materials. You have 6Al4V titanium, which is a titanium compound. Then you have pure titanium, and then you have zirconium. And when you start throwing heat at it, it will bring out all these different characteristics. And this one almost looks like, I don't know, like a piece of candy. There's a lot of heavy purples in there. There's some silvers. There's some cool blue coming through in there. This thing is just absolutely beautiful. And that was the big surprise that he had for me on this, as well as the clip and the pivot. Those 3 things I was not expecting. It was just going to be a simple, basic, run-of-the-mill kind of look. And what I got, what I think is one of the more special variations of the Tanic. Now, this is, as he puts it on the card that he threw in there, number 2 of 2. So apparently he's only going to be doing 2 of these in the Wharncliffe. He even specially named mine. How cute. So there are only 2 Wharncliffes that exist, and I am really, really happy to be one of those 2 guys. Seriously in love with this knife. It doesn't take away from the love that I have for my original, but it definitely is a step in a different direction. It is much more refined. It is a visual and tactile indication of Geoff's evolution. This is a great knife, and I still stand by that. I still love it. It will never be sold. It will always be part of my collection. There's just nothing about it that I don't like. But this is that knife more refined, just better in every possible way. Oh, I just noticed the relief cut. He did some texture in there. Didn't even notice that before. I just can't help but stare at that backspacer. Just beautiful. Just a little pop of color, just to give you something off of that very sterile look that we have going on here. And yes, the Epic Tanic is going to be wildly overdone. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be more of a showpiece than a user. I've been carrying this since the day I got it. I use it all the time. And this also will most certainly be a user. And Geoff assures me that when this breaks in, it's actually going to be as smooth as it was the day he built it. He did make some adjustments. He put up a great YouTube video, not YouTube video, but and he did do a great YouTube video, but he did an Instagram video on the night that he completed this the first time, and he basically just popped that lock and the blade dropped under its own weight completely. But he did make some adjustments in there. He's like, just give it, a day or 2 to break in a little bit better, and it's going to go back to being just that smooth. But, in my opinion, this is damn smooth, and it is a big difference between this one and my number 3. So, like I said, I feel very fortunate to own this knife, but I feel even more fortunate to have Geoff as a friend. I've watched a lot of people run around and talk shit about him. I've watched people take advantage of him, and I just think it's sad. I think it's sad to see somebody with such potential, such incredible potential, that's hung up with having to deal with asshats on a daily basis. And people that just take up his time for really no good reason when he could be making good knives for a lot of other people. So, like I said, I was never pushing at him to get my second one done. I'm not pushing at him to get the Epic Tanic done. I really don't expect to see that probably till, somewhere around the summertime, because the things that we want to do to it, there's certain things that he wants to get better at before he tackles that, and that would make me happy as well. I just look at it as, you know what, when I get it, I know I'm going to love it. It's going to be rockin' awesome. And something I'm going to want to carry every single day. And you know what? The wait was worth it. And I know a lot of guys are waiting. They've been waiting for months, and they're being told they're still going to wait for a few more months to get theirs. Be really happy that there was such a long wait. Be really happy that there were so many people ahead of you, that Geoff, like any other good quality maker, continued to evolve and perfect his processes so that each and every knife that comes out gets better. And Geoff is a little bit neurotic. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. Geoff, I love you, but he's always second-guessing himself. And I can guarantee you, if you're one of the golden 20, you have one of the first 20 Tanics, and you ever send it back to him for, I don't know, recentering or sharpening or something minor, I guarantee you're going to get back a knife that's about at least 50% different. Because he's going to look at it and go, that was when I was doing certain things back then that I didn't know now, and I'm going to put those things in there. I'm going to make the action a little better. I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to make it a better knife that's more comparable to my current work. And that's what you'll see only the really good makers doing. He could have very simply just kept doing what he was doing, and you know what? This is a damn good knife. I've never heard anybody that had a Tanic say otherwise. So it's not just me. He could have kept doing the exact same thing with the way he builds them, and everything would have been fine. But he continually tries to better himself without anybody else telling him to do it, because we've all told him the same thing. Dude, I love my Tanic. I love my knife. I think it's fantastic. But he himself just decided, I'm going to continue to make each one better. And boy, has he. You're not going to focus all the way up here, are you? Ah, there you go. Look at that. Ain't that pretty? Woo-wee! And you know what's funny? Over the time that it's taken between this one and this one, I've also changed the way that I collect. My tastes have gotten further refined. So, you know, just in the past week, I mean, I've gotten my Todd Fisher Archangel. I've gotten into some, my Jim Burke. I've gotten into some pricier things that are known for a particular degree of accuracy and again, refinement. So I think I might even be a little bit harder on knives as far as the way that I view them now. And I just can't find anything I don't like about this. Period. It's just one of the knives that melts in my hand, and yeah, it is a little more comfortable. I like a big, thick, chunky knife, but this is just a little bit more comfortable in the hand. It really is. The weight of the blade, much heavier than my original, just because it's the Wharncliffe, because I've got more material on this that's not being cut away. And I got to tell you, not a fun thing to do to get a nice satin finish out of N690. Now, you can't mirror polish it, that's for certain. You certainly can satin finish it, but it's not very easy. He's done a great job here. I mean, it's not just a good working knife, it's a beautiful knife. I could pull this out of my pocket in the presence of anyone. Somebody that doesn't know anything about knives, or somebody that's a really high-end collector, and it's going to be a conversation piece. So, it's not like I have to make this video and tell people, oh, get on Geoff's books, because you really can't get on Geoff's books. I mean, he said in his last video, listen, if you really, really, really want a Tanic, I don't want to turn anybody away. You just have to understand it's going to be a super long wait. So, yeah, you can email him. No, don't email him. We all know that you can't email Geoff. You go to his website, you go to tuffknives.com, you will see his phone number there. And, well, screw it, it's right here. Boom. So you can call him and you can say, yes, please put me on your list, but you're not going to get it for a while. It's going to probably be, 6, 8, 10 months before you see yours. But he's not really actively looking to take orders. I just had to get this video done to show you the progression from one knife to another. This being so super early on. He made his original prototype, and then he went, I think he made another prototype after that, if I'm not mistaken. Then he banged them out, 1, 2, and then 3. And it really is such a huge difference from knife to knife. All of the little touches, just this contouring, all the way around. The contouring at the edges, just lightly softening the edges without making it completely round on the edges. Still keeping that bold look. The incredible back spacer, which this officially was the very first time he's ever worked with Zircotai. So, hey, cool, another first for me. I have the very first knife he's ever put Zircotai on. Pretty nifty. This incredible clip. Great retention. I have carried this all day. Like I said, I just didn't have time to flip it and play with it, but carried it all day. Came in and out of the pocket wonderfully. Very clean work all the way through. He completely finished everything. He didn't leave the lock face ugly and nasty. Everything is clean. Everything is beautiful. And it's fast. Oh, so fast. Again, it's going to lock up on me a little bit there. Geoff, you did a great job. It's fantastic. And as soon as she's broken in, I'll be happy to show it again in a future video. I'm going to go for now. So again, Geoff, thank you. Love you, man. And thank you for getting me in on your run of your second model after the Tanic. I can't wait to see how great that one's going to be. And for all of you that own Tanics, you have a newer Tanic, you know what I'm talking about. You know how great this is. You have an older Tanic. Trust me, they just keep getting better. So every time you see Geoff put out a new model, get in on it, man. I think the second model he's making, that slimmer knife, I think he said he's only going to make about 20 of those also. So, you know what, if you're a customer that's been to Geoff before, you're obviously going to get priority. I'd probably shoot him a note and go, hey, I'm kind of thinking about one of those. Might be a good idea. So anyway, put these back down here. I don't care if I just bang them together. They're just everyday carry knives. Look at that. Beautiful work. I'm astonished. I really am. And I will be doing a follow-up video in a couple of weeks on this when it breaks in, just so that you guys can see it again. And I can let you know if I still feel the same in a few weeks that I do right now. Speaking of which, I'm going to get a few long-term reports done on other knives that I've had for 6 to 12 months, as I like to do, and give you an idea. Hey, do I still have it? And if I still have it, do I still love it? Is it as great as I thought it was when I first got it? And so for now, I'm going to cut it off. I'll see you guys on the next video.